Good morning, everyone. Today I have a Dromai versus Oldhim gameplay matchup that I actually did not record the audio for, so I was just going to watch over it and talk about some of the lines and how you play this matchup. I've gotten a number of questions about, how do I beat Oldhim or how do I beat Bravo? And while it's definitely not a free matchup, playing it correctly and knowing your win condition can really you know, help you along. So our producer is out of the country at the moment. So if anything's a little wonky or subpar, you can just blame me and thank Colin when he gets back. So I actually here's a little trick I'm sure all of you know. After you play Rake, you can then pitch to Furnace to generate net 3 ash to then transform all of them. So that's what I'm doing turn 0 here. I think about attacking, but I would put a counter on Ghostly Touch, but I think the dragons as they are more valuable to strip a card and get a counter later, or like take an action point if he wants to Winter's Wail them or something like that. So, that's what I'm doing there. First order of business is kind of to determine whether or not the Oldhim player is going to try to hyper aggressive or is going to take a hyper aggressive stance, or if they're going to try to fatigue me, or somewhere in the middle, because it will kind of change how I play this matchup. If they're playing very aggressively, then you need to kind of threaten them more, try to strip their cards more to buy yourself a little bit of tempo. If they're playing more defensively, you need to really maximize your resources and make sure like every dragon in the deck gets popped and is played out, and all of that kind of stuff. So on this turn, I chose to take the 4 with the Winter's Wail. They must have had a pretty clunky hand. Or, sometimes Oldhim just can't capitalize on a 4-card hand, especially depending on the build. So I decided to just take it. I pitched a blue along with Optimi. Pitch stacking Optimi is part of your win condition and is, fairly powerful play. Ideally, I'd want to get Dromai onto the bottom of the deck as well. But, again, I'm feeling it out first here. So this way I'm able to Sweeping Blow, Blaze Headlong are both real attacks. Dromai gets a popper, and then an Ashwing may get a popper, or as we see here, my opponent, I think, wants to at least Winter's Wail me and get an Arsenal card, so they're choosing to take 3 damage instead. So this gives me a little bit of an idea of how they want to play, right? Like, seems a bit more defensive or reserved, but also not on the fatigue plan entirely. This matchup is it's definitely not free. I actually recently lost to an Oldhim for the first time in a long time. Just kind of their pressure really lined up, and I don't know, I felt like I drew kind of clunky, like I was unable to play Tumultai early, or on the first cycle, and I just wasn't able to blast out dragons and really pressure them enough, and just kind of like succumb to red Thunderquake and followed by red Pummel, or plays like that can really get your life total uncomfortably low. Because what I'm trying to do here, right, is I can strip a card every turn by threatening dragons attacking, but that still leaves them with like a 3 or 4 card hand. And my job really is to kind of like pressure them a little bit extra, right? Like, here's a Sweeping Blow, which is real damage. Playing Burn Them All attacks them on a different axis. So then if they want to mitigate that damage, they have to pitch. And there's all these ways there you can kind of pressure them a little bit extra. Blaze Headlong, playing out a Chromai or a Miragai strips an extra card. And, while you don't want to just waste your resources, ensuring they get put on the back foot is, essential. Because if they can just 5-card hand you, they can really Endless Winter, Fuse, Pummel is, pretty nuts. You don't want to be in that position over and over again. So here I'm getting threatened with a Thunderquake, right? And I have some decision points. I have a passing and an energy potion in my hand, which I would like to play out both, but I am unable to do that with one action point, right? Playing the energy potion ensures that your ghostly touch will not get destroyed by exposed to the elements, which I'm sure most of you know by now. But up until then, you kind of should play around to exposed. But I'm trying to run 2 energy potions at the moment, actually, in order to see one quicker, because after you play one out, then you're forever insulated from exposed if that's how they're going to play that. So normally in this position, I would prefer to leave the sand cover in arsenal in order to protect myself from pummel or relevant hit triggers. However, since I am going to play the energy potion, I'd like to arsenal the passing to play out in a future turn, or to crown away to maintain one in my deck. So I took the line of just preserving life using my sand cover. Part of that thinking is that I have a lot more defense reactions in my deck. So I'm going to see another one soon. Hopefully I don't get too punished, but I'll be able to, get another one in arsenal soon enough. Here my opponent plays out Remembrance, which is a little bit odd in Oldhim, just because it ruins your pitch stack, which a lot of Oldhims are trying to aggressively pitch stack because they can beat you to the second cycle with Crown of Seeds. But just getting 3 red attacks back, definitely has value for him. Maybe running 1 Remembrance allows him to kind of just aggressively pop dragons and worry about threat density a little bit less. I'll tell you, if you play this matchup, you'll get pretty tired of getting icy hammered. It messes up your cost curve in that, you want to pitch a red to play a red and therefore maintain Ash. But with 1 Frostbite, you have to pitch a whole extra card oftentimes, or pitch a blue and not generate any Ash, which makes it kind of tough. It's also tough to just keep taking 4 over and over, so let's see, I play out a Rabble here. So oftentimes you want to block with a card and have extra money to pay through and generate Ash, and sometimes it's a little bit too much. My opponent there uses Stalagmite, which is pretty smart since it does not trigger off of dragons, since it's looking for an attacking hero. I also get a sense that my opponent would like to keep their hand if they're trying to tax me as much as possible, even through my pitching a blue. And as we see here, they are attempting to keep their hand, trading 5 damage to keep it, so I know that they have a really big swing coming. I'm going to further maybe punish this play by playing out passing, which they essentially have to attack on their turn. So, at least I have that to hopefully kind of interrupt this play that they're making. I'm pitching for an Ash. It's more important than having Kyloria in arsenal. Kyloria is not... A lot of your dragons are not very important in this matchup because they are... Rake is the most important one because it generates 3 dragons. like dragons like Necria are just going to get popped, so they're essentially the same as all other dragons, except Chromai and Moragai, of course. Big Rouse coming in, 3 cards left in hand, so we're looking at most likely a Rouse, Pummel, and then Winter's Wail. Or maybe like a Rouse, E-Strike, then Winter's Wail. I use my Crown of Providence here to send away this energy potion that I have no use for. Which I think this is a waste of the sync ability. I just didn't have a way to get energy potion out of my hand, and used it. I probably should have arsenaled it and then crowned it away at worst. I also do a little bit of miscounting here. I thought my 2 D-reacts would cover up this pummel, but this was I played this game late at night right before bed and have a couple points where I miscount a little bit, so I'm not that psyched on what's happening. But it's okay, it's fine. The worst part of it is that I will lose a burn them all out of my deck. The best part is they're going to have to Winter's Wail my passing instead of, being able to attack me further. You're always faced with this, right? Like I'm deliberating life or getting a D-react in arsenal. And yep, I'm choosing the D-react in arsenal to block because it's the same thing, right? It makes you feel better if you preserve your life, but in this situation, it's like a sand cover in arsenal will block 4 damage in the future and a hit effect. A sand cover right now is like just 4 damage, so it's really meaningless, right? The only way it would have helped me is if I was able to cover up that pummel swing. You notice my opponent's running AB1 and Crown of Seeds. They do use Crown fairly aggressively in this match. And yep, just a Winter's Wail. So they're able to mitigate some arcane damage. Crown's kind of annoying, but in general, if they lose a whole card to block the arcane, yeah, I don't whittle them down as much, but it's like lose a card to prevent arcane, lose a card to pop a dragon at least. That's like 2 cards down for my pretty low investment. This isn't great. I miss out on the burn them all trigger this turn, but I've been having trouble generating ash, and this way I get to, after they pop this, create 3 ash and pitch Asvali and Moragai together for second cycle. So, a lot of good things happen, even though I just have to do a little bit of housekeeping here, right? Like I've been fairly bad at ash management. Seen my sand covers early, which also tax it more. So I, just have to handle that. Fortunately for me, here I'm going to sync this Fate Foreseen as it's just redundant. And I draw this rounds on me, which is pretty terrible. I forgot that I side in 3 passings and 2 energy potions into this matchup, so that brings me up to like 14 blues, which is too many. In the future, I've been like tinkering with my deck too much and like not keeping everything in mind. So in the future, I will just put in like, excuse me, dust ups or more miraging metamorphs or something, like a red block 3 that fills the same role, right? It just blocks 3. It doesn't really do much in this matchup, but it being a red is much more valuable than like that this round's on me at the moment. So here I attacked with the Dromai protected by Miragai so that I would be able to get 2 action points and 2 poppers and have Miragai and Dromai both stay around. So then the thinking here is that now whichever one they Winter's Wail, I will still have one out, right? They hit Miragai, so I'll have Dromai again this turn to do the same thing and like strip a popper or strip 2 poppers this turn. And just keep building those counters. That's what I'm trying to do. So right here I'm just going to play out 2 Yenderais. Once again, doesn't really matter, just blank text dragon, going to get popped eventually. Kind of the only silver lining with some of these dragons is that if you do have a Necria on board, and you just attack with it last, right? Because it technically is most valuable. And yep, undo, play out my Yenderai, then attack. If you have a powerful dragon like a Necria on board, they're probably not going to clean it up because it's so hard to kill. And if you then play out a Miragai later on, you can all of a sudden like capitalize on it. But so as we've seen, if Oldhim's hands line up, like the Rouse Pummel into Winter's Wail, or just like a 3-card red Thunderquake is really good. Some of their hands are quite powerful, but unlike hyper aggressive decks, they're less able to capitalize on having these huge hands, right? It has to line up right? Like sometimes they can have fairly clunky, huge hands. And most of the game, I'm keeping them to 3 or 4 card hands, which is like even harder to have a huge blowout play. I mean, obviously they can still line up CNC Pummel or whatever, but there's odd turns where it doesn't really line up quite enough. I do think it's weird they pitched the channel here, but it might have been their only ice card, so that if they play it, they can't keep it around, and they prefer to threaten the Frostbite instead. Which, again, I haven't played the Oldhim side much, but the Frostbite is, like, fairly annoying, right? Like, here I had to use the sand cover to be able to play out. Oh, never mind, that's right. I don't have any ash. So I use the sand cover to generate some ash here. But then I'm in a weird situation again with I want to save Tomultai, but I have to pitch a red to play this Kyloria and burn up my ash again. So really feeling the unbalance or overbalance. I don't know. There's too many blues in the deck. But I do have to play a red to be able to threaten damage. If I just attack with an Ashwing or a Yenderai, they'll probably just take it, right? Like I have to threaten the go again to strip a card here. But I'm just in this pickle here, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know. Some games you just have like 8 ash, and some like not enough ash, and it has to do mostly with your ash management and playing intelligently. But sometimes it's just kind of tough. I think this game, the higher blues, has really cost me like 3 or 4 ash at this point. And that's been a little bit hard to deal with. Back to CNC Pummel. Sandcover is great in Arsenal. Sandcover is just great in general because you can block CNC and then just block the Pummel with Sandcover. It's a really, really powerful tool you can use. You can do it out of hand as well. Just the CNC ability does not apply to instants. So normally, oof. So nothing's revealed. I guess they have another red in hand. But what Endless Winter means is when I activate a dragon to attack, I will get a frostbite. Or if I Flamescale Furnace, I'll get a frostbite. So Tomotai is still stuck. But that's okay. I'm just trying to be patient. Wait for an opportunity. Normally, I would not Arsenal Tomotai or a large dragon, like a difficult to play card in Arsenal, once my crown is gone, because he could get really stuck there if they're able to like really put on the pressure. However, we get blizzarded here, so I'm unable to attack the dragon afterwards. I'm just going to pitch to Furnace before that, and I'll have to pass. I think I was taking a gamble here, especially with the number of blues I have, that the upside of playing Tomotai and killing the Null Rune Gloves or Crown would greatly benefit me. I think that was a bit of a misplay on my opponent's part. They did not need to Stalagmite block me. But again, I just don't attack with like Rabbles and Blaze Headlongs. Oh, and I guess Sweeping Blows are the only cards like real cards I attack with, or non-dragons. So getting the Stalagmite value is not very common. So maybe that was just their thinking. No pummel threat in here, so I can just block it. So when I opt there, I'm doing it for the rabble, right? Like now I know I'm going to hit a red on top. But also seeing Necria is like, Necria is not an important dragon, right? So if I see a Miragai or a Burn Them All or something, I might like send it down to see second cycle. But Necria is just like, it blocks for 3, you can play it, it does everything I want first cycle, right? I attack with Kyloria first here. Just because if they have the opportunity, my opponent can hammer Kyloria away, which sometimes they do, but Yenderai is pretty sticky. You can't hammer it away. So my thinking was just like, get the fragile dragon popped, leave the beefcakes on board. I don't know if that's right. And then I also, since I'm at 23 to 16 in low ash, I prioritized pitching the sigil to create an ash rather than gaining the life. I think that's more important. I also, crowning there. Sigil also late game can just be like an enabler. It can bring some of your life back, which is great. And it can also, start your dragons up. It's actually not that bad to pitch. See? So I see another this round's on me. But I'm finally able to play out Tomotai. I don't really want to take 4 damage here, but, what are you going to do? This also nets me to Ash, which is kind of nice. I mean, at this point, I'm getting fairly Ash rich, which is great. But create Tomotai. I'm actually aiming for their crown, I think, this time, because I lost. Yeah, so I hit 2 blues off the top, and I don't get to get anything, which is like pretty heartbreaking. This is like a big part of your play. So that's pretty rough. This is not yet my pitch stack. I didn't pitch those 2 blues together. So it's just the very end of the deck had 2 of those 14 blues. But again, next time we're going to play with less blues. I was aiming at their crown this game mostly because I had to burn them all, get pummeled away, and they're aggressively crowning in this deck. It's like part of their strategy. I'm unable to get both. I most likely won't be threatening um, in a way that getting the gloves would be more beneficial, I think. So I did actually go for the crown there and missed. Channel comes out, which is pretty rough. Like, channel sucks. It's pretty hard for you to play through channel since you're really trying to go wide, actually. But so something to consider here is I have yet to see, they tend to hide exposed, but I have yet to see an exposed to the elements. Like, they usually just arsenal it and crown it away to try to get you later if it's not online. But I have yet to see one. So later on, you can use your energy potion if you need to, if you want to risk it. So Oldhim earth reacted me there. I thought he was going to ice react me. But if he ice reacted me, I could just pitch to Furnace and make an Ash. Instead, I get to Arsenal the Mirage guy, which is great. But right here, I'm getting CNC pummeled. I really want the Mirage guy to pair with a dragon later. But it looks like, so I decide that I would have to block with my whole hand to not get CNC pummeled. And I was just going to risk it, right? They threaten that kind of play quite often, like threatening the pummel, and you can't always play around it. And I just decided, like, cards in my deck were maybe more valuable. I don't know. Like, I don't think that threatening, like attacking with Yenderai with no go again that turn, and then keeping Miragai was going to be quite good enough, right? Because then they can just kind of do it again. This way I play out Necria, I demand a popper at least. And so this is a pretty big moment, right? I'm like 3 hands into my pitch stack, something like that, and I hit this Optimi that I sent down with 2 blues close to it. I'm not the best at keeping them all in the same hand, but I hit here, and I choose to just take 10. 17-7, but this is a very powerful play. I get to pair Miragai with Optimi. Love it. Love this play. I haven't guaranteed I'll hit all reds on top. I'm like not that good at card counting, unfortunately. I will do that if I third cycle Optimi and you're like 14 cards away from it. It becomes a lot easier. Or maybe not even technically easier, but just like, I don't know, easier to think about. But I do hit 2 reds here. So I'm threatening, I hit him for 4, and now I'm threatening 6, no Phantasm. And then I also have to get a popper here. So this is pretty good. And my opponent just takes it. If I was going to threaten lethal here, I would probably swing Miragai to demand a card. But since I cannot threaten lethal, I'm not going to see if... maybe I would. I'm not going to see if they have the popper. And so now we see why they took all that damage, right? Is that they wanted to play out that tome. So now they have a 5-card hand and gain 5 life, which is pretty great. However, I was able to, do a lot of damage. And they don't know the cards they're going to draw unless they're like... Yeah, this was after the Remembrance. So anyway, so now I'm deliberating, right? Like I'm obviously going to get pummeled here. This is pretty tough. I'm thinking about what to do on my turn, right? So my opponent made a decision here. Like normally they have to kill Moragai or Optimi, right? If they kill Optimi, um, so really quick here, uh, I miscounted my block. I thought I was covering for a red pummel, but again, late night game, and I was one off. So if that had been a red pummel, I would have lost on the spot, which is not great. I should have blocked with my whole hand. Um, but, you know, worked out. Blue pummel was fine. I kept the extra card to discard. Now I can play Moragai. My opponent made an interesting decision there, and that they can have that really powerful play and try to cripple me, or they can attack Moragai or Optimi. But if they attack Optimi, or if they attack Moragai, I can still Moragai, or sorry, if they attack Moragai, I can still Optimi them for more arcane. If they attack Optimi, I can play another Dragon out and take advantage of having Moragai in play. So they're in a really tough situation, and I think it's kind of like a lose-lose for them at this point. Like this play out is really powerful. And then on this turn, I deliberated. Like once I popped the energy potion to play out Moragai, I run the risk of getting exposed. But that's like a 3-card hand, right? So if they play exposed, they only have 2 cards left in hand, the fuse card and some other card, and then I'm still coming at them with this turn's, threat. So, while I thought about it, I think it was fine in the end. Or I think that was the right call in the end. A couple little miscounts by me. Playing against kind of mid-ranged Oldhim. I don't really know what the best plan for Oldhim is in that matchup, but it's I think aggro Oldhim when their stuff lines up is the best. But anyway, thanks for watching.